the couch, not to be mistaken for PJ Harvey. And please give him a warm welcome. So Harvey, you're from Cambridge originally, and you ended up in LA.
Yeah, I suppose I spent what I'd call my most formative years in Cambridge, which was between the ages of kind of like 9 and 19, although I was born in London. And then moved back to London when I was about 19 and managed to get out to Los Angeles, Venice Beach, California in my 40s. Yeah, so that's my rough migration.
And you've been on the forefront of, not really the warehouse party thing in England, but like the acid house movement with Tonka, your sound system back then. So could you talk a little bit about that?
The Tonka sound system was basically a loose collective of DJs, engineers, and party people. And the idea was basically to have a group identity in a similar way to a Jamaican sound system would have, like Java hi-fi. And I don't know if you guys know, but in a Jamaican sound system, it takes like 4 guys to play a record. You've got a selector, the guy that selects the record, an operator, the guy that plays the record, a DJ that talks over the record, and probably got an engineer that's tweaking the EQ. So we wanted something like that, so that the guys that were lifting the speaker boxes and helping out with the general day-to-day of running of the sound system also had a feeling of being part of the crew. So we ran parties as a sound system. We were known as Tonka High Fidelity.
But you didn't play reggae, right?
We played all kinds of music. I think at that time, in the sort of like the early to mid 80s, reggae music was having a renaissance, and we were enjoying that and playing reggae music. I mean, I grew up as a punk rocker, I suppose, and the Clash and people like that were bringing. They were from Brixton. Brixton's a centre for the West Indian community in London, so they were heavily influenced by reggae, and we liked the Clash, and they liked reggae, so we would investigate reggae music. So reggae music has been an integral part of like my DJing or sound system life, as it were.
But you didn't start out as a DJ, right? Your first musical steps were
as a drummer.
As a drummer.
Yeah, in various school bands and stuff, like jamming with the local bands, playing at local little community centres and kids' gigs, you know. And I was actually in a band called Ersatz, which means cheap substitute. And we had a single out on our own little label, Leisure Sounds, in about 1979. And John Peel liked us and played the track a few times, and I thought I'd made it. I was very happy at that point, but we didn't manage to sell any records. My friend's bathroom was full of about 5,000 singles for as long as I can remember. Yeah, that was that was a good time coming up through drumming, and it wasn't my. Although, DJ culture was around and parties were around, I mean, I would go to school, as well as playing drums in a punk band, I would go to school discos where they were playing whatever the music of the time was, So there was always like, the DJing thing was there, but I didn't really move into DJing until I started hearing the first sort of hip-hop records, like electric boogie, breakdance. Like, I couldn't understand why that record sounded like a underwear commercial or something. It was a record made from other records, and the manipulation of the beats and stuff was fascinating to me. It was like the turntables were another form of rhythm maker. So I approached it as a rhythm maker rather than a party DJ that I'd consider myself now. At that time I was investigating actual like beat juggling and rhythm making. And as I took my place behind the decks, you know, I worked out that really people didn't want to watch me go. They'd rather dance to a nice record, you know. So the transition was as so.
And a few years later on, you got really into the whole acid house thing.
Yeah, I think it just seemed a natural progression, really. That, like, again, throughout the early '80s, there'd been electronic dance music, up-tempo dance music, and in fact, although rap and hip-hop is predominantly mid or down-tempo these days, back then you had up-tempo dance, hip-hop music. So I completely lost my train of thought.
So how did you get from the up-tempo hip-hop music to the acid house
so,
parties?
That's a good sign for you. Those sort of years are such a damn blur. I was too busy having a good time to sort of work it all out. But yeah, I think just you know, I started going to parties where there'd be DJs playing predominantly dance music, and the attitude and the feeling, just the vibes at those parties was really good and really progressive, you know, really exciting. So I'd started to lean in that direction, and it just so happened I was there at the point when that movement was really coming up in England and Europe at that time, and I rode the wave, as it were, you know, went to the record shops, bought the records and played them, you know, and people seemed to like what I did, so that was good.
So was that then also responsible for you being one of the first resident DJs at England's best ever super club, Ministry of Sound?
Yeah, I suppose my reputation had built by that time, and the people with the power at the ministry decided to give me a go, and I was lucky enough to be a resident on Fridays and Saturday nights for the morning or graveyard shift, which was from at that time sort of about 6 in the morning through till 10, 11, 12. And at that time the ministry was a juice bar, so they didn't make any money on alcohol, so they didn't really worry about staying open, and they hadn't worked out that they had to pay the security guys more money or whatever, you know. So it went on until Sunday afternoons or Saturday mornings on those times, and that was a great time. It's like it was like driving the Titanic, you know, really good fun.
So they tried to be like London's Paradise Garage with that place?
Yeah, there was a guy who had the vision, Justin, his name was Justin, maybe his other name.
Berkman?
Justin Berkman, there we go. Justin Berkman had been to the garage and had this vision of something similar in London, and had done the work and done the research and built his dream club, and initially it was absolutely wonderful in there. Fantastic sound system, sprung dance floor, you know, all the good things. A purpose-built room. The whole room is a pentacle, five walls, suspended like a studio. The entire room is a room within a room, and acoustically it was really great. It was, you know, great fun to play there.
And is it true that they actually had the sound system of Paradise Garage in there?
No, I think there was a guy called Steve Dash, I believe, who did the installation. But I think Steve was one of the Richard Long associates who had installed the garage system. But the system in the ministry was I'd say it was more like a tribute to that system than the actual system itself. I don't know what happened to the garage system. It was probably broken up and burnt, you know.
And have you ever been to the garage yourself?
No, I never have. I've stood outside it and looked up. These days it's a post office, I believe. But no, I was lucky enough never to have a bad night at the garage, so it's perfect in my imagination.
But you had the pleasure of hosting Larry Levan on his only trip to Europe.
I was very lucky. Larry turned out to became a good friend, and he stayed with me for a little while, and you know, I picked up the vibes, and he you know, learned some lessons, and it was a good time.
So he was really that great?
Yeah, he's incredible.
And what made him that great?
Being gay and African, and in New York City, the right time and the right place, and to have a feeling for music, you know, a passion, and a way to be able to, you know, to communicate in an amazing way. He could, just by using the volume control, could really speak to you by bringing out particular lyrics in a song or whatever. He would talk. You could hear him actually talking through the record. It was quite amazing. I try to do the same in a lot of respects. I'll never play a lyric I don't believe in. I won't play a lyric that doesn't match the way I'm feeling at the time or what I'm trying to say to the people.
And you're also trying to match lyrics of different records together?
That's possible, to play a verse from one record and a chorus, to do an answer and reply thing with two different records, but it's difficult. And it's a rare, you know, it's a rare thing. You know, you could spend a lot of time searching to find that combination. I'd rather just play one record that's really good, you know, than try and work really hard to make something beyond that.
And you're responsible for one of the most legendary nights there ever been in London, called Moist. Was this before or after your tenure at Ministry of Sound?
It was kind of a crossover, really. To be honest, I'm not sure which. I think I was doing Moist first, and then I started doing Ministry, and because Moist was on the Fridays, so there was a bit of a cross-pollination. I'm thinking, and to be honest, I can't remember which one ended or started first, but quite often, I know they were going at the same time because often a DJ that would be headlining at the Ministry on Saturday night, I'd sneakily get them on the Friday night for a session.
And yeah, what did you try to do with Moist? It was obviously very different to everything else. What was going on back then?
It was really a first sort of foray into what I'd describe as sort of adult dance music, which is not necessarily instantly, it's not instantly gratificational, but is a little more sort of sex orientated, a little more sleazy, a little more grown up rocky, slower. You know, that kind of, in a lot of ways it was sort of garage, Balearic, cosmic kind of tribute in a way. You know, I was discovering how that music works, you know.
Could you actually describe the term Balearic to the audience?
Balearic music, okay, there's let me think. There's some islands in the Mediterranean called the Balearic Islands, one of which is Ibiza. And Ibiza's been party central for about 2,000 years. The music which had become the signature sound of the slightly more sophisticated Ibizancan scene has become known as Balearic music. And these days, I suppose, you know, with a wide range of sound, I mean, I haven't been there for 5 years, so I don't really know what's happening, but I'm sure it hasn't changed that much. But it could mean anything. I mean, it's hard. I suppose I could play you 10 Balearic records, and then maybe you'd have an idea of the vibe or the feeling. It's slightly softer, slightly more dreamy, again more down tempo, kind of European sounding dance music. But in general, it's music that had become popular in the Balearic Islands during the 80s. Wake up and pay attention.
So maybe you could play us an example of?
Maybe I could, yeah. Let's have a look here. I don't know, let's see. We can play a Balearic track. Here we go. is something Italian from the... let's have a look. I'll try and get the right side here. Let's cue up. All right. Now this has a European flavor, electronic beats, and it's a little bit cheesy, which is kind of one of a good ingredient towards Balearic music. All right, you get the basic idea, the sort of like 80s sounding kind of thing. Here's a little German record by Supermax. This has again, you know, lots of Euro flavor, electronic rhythms, a little bit down tempo. See if we can get the guy's voice on here. There we go. Okay, that's enough of that. I mean, it's very difficult to purvey an entire genre of music which has such a wide range of sound within its borders, as it were. Probably the best thing to do is go out and buy sort of Best of Balearic Volume 1 or something. I'm sure there's one of those out there somewhere.
There actually is one, I think, on Mastercuts or something.
Yeah, and you'll get a general idea from that, you know, as to the... I mean, it's a very open genre of dance music.
And who were the DJs playing that stuff?
Probably the greatest was P.T. of Pasha. Alfredo of Amnesia. There's a bunch of guys. PP of Pasha. I don't know, a bunch of great guys. I mean, someone like Alfredo would play 7 nights a week for 12 hours a night. You know, that guy. I mean, he's incredible, man. When I saw him DJ, at the end of the night, there was a line of 50 people that just wanted to like touch the guy, kiss his hands, you know, like amazing. He would DJ with no headphones, like mixing off the beat flash of the LED, like just wonderful guy, and would he had wonderful programming and yeah, just a great DJ.
So mixing isn't too important for that kind of music?
I mean, mixing helps obviously to keep the flow, and I think over the last sort of 15 to 20 years, it's been important, especially with electronic dance music. It's pretty damn easy to mix, but I think if it's too much of a problem, I mean, for me it's the flow of the party. Like mixing doesn't impress me, especially of electronic beats. You know, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. But if someone can actually have some courage and play a record with passion, then that's DJing, you know. So mixing has its place. If it's mixable, mix it. If it's not, don't worry about a thing. Stop the record, put the next one on, and keep the party jumping. You know.
So you would prefer Mancuso over Qbert?
Very different. Both incredible DJs. Although I've never listened. I've seen Qbert on video and stuff. And I don't know what it would be like having to try and be at a party where he's actually DJing. Probably good if you're a breakdancer or something. But yeah, it's really hard to say. It's places and spaces and crowds. You know, in general, the crowd decides, and a professional DJ will cater to the crowd.
And you've also been responsible for maybe the first wave of disco edits actually being made in Europe on a little label called Black Cock.
Yeah. Well, Black Cock is flaccid as we speak. We haven't done anything for quite some time. But yeah, we started in, I think the first one was like very early 90s, and that was a as a direct result of my and Larry's relationship, he played an edit of South Shore Commission's Free Man, which I wanted to get hold of. And when I had worked out how he'd got the version, it was a tape edit cut onto acetate. So I looked into that, and my first edit was of South Shore Commission Free Man, basically trying to make the version that I'd heard Larry play. We then went on to, we being me and my partner Jerry Rooney, went on to release, I think, 7 volumes of the Black Cock re-edits of various disco stuff and obscure kind of cosmic, Balearic, whatever you want to call it, music.
So maybe you could play us one of.
Yeah, this one is actually the first ever one, even though it's number 7. Someone actually called me up and asked where the other 6 were. It's kind of cool. But this is the one that goes for the money. So we'll play this. I think I've heard that this has been up to like $300 on the good. So that's pretty much the gist of it. All right. Cool, I'm glad you like that one. I like that one too. Yeah.
Is this bootleg also because of the stated track or Ron's edits?
No, it's not a, I mean, it's funny because we didn't license the track, so in that way it's a bootleg, but the edit is my edit. The Ron Hart, I think, various DJs have done edits of this track, including Theo Parrish, Ron Hardy, and myself.
It's the Dells.
It's the
No Way
Dells,
Back.
No Way Back, which is it's a famous track to edit. I haven't heard the Ron Hardy one. I'd quite like to get my hands on that. It's someone's put out things called Ron. What are they? Ron's edits. Right. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that Ron Hardy had re-edited it before me, but I think that the Theo Parrish one is more recent, and there's been, other versions. Hello.
What year is it from?
What, the original track? When did I do it? Like 92, something like that, 91, 92?
How did you do it?
By cutting tape. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not that complicated, that particular one. There's only like 20, 30 edits on it.
So maybe you could explain to them how reel-to-reel machine is.
Yeah, I mean, how I was doing it, you basically get the record, you record the record onto reel-to-reel tape, you run the tape off, mark the section before the beat to cut it, run it through again to the end of your section. Then you've got a piece of tape which is like, hanging around your neck. And then you record another one, make 2. Then you can stick them together in a big loop, have a cotton reel with a pencil going round, then record that loop onto another. At the time I didn't have 2 tape machines, so I had a DAT machine. I'd record that loop onto the DAT, then play that back onto the tape, and so on, and build up, and just and have different sections and cut them, stick them all together.
So how long did it take for you to do an edit of the Dells?
That would probably be just kind of one night, but sort of all night, Yeah.
And what do you think about the computer mouse edits nowadays?
I think it's really good that the technology is there, but it doesn't help people make good edits. That it's become an excuse to make a record, and half the edits I hear ruin the record. People edit records that don't need editing because they didn't have the knowledge to know that there was already a 12-inch copy or whatever it may be, Yeah, I think you've got to be very careful before you embark on the re-edit thing. So often I find the break section of a record is only the best bit of the record because it precedes a shit part. Do you see what I mean? So I honestly feel like taking like Apache by Incredible Bongo Band and leaving out the break and just edit the chorus over and over again so the break never comes. And the crowd, that really get people going, you know, because all the time I hear like that. We listened just a while ago to a Crusaders edit, and whoever had edited it had taken out the middle eight, the bridge section, which for me, although it's not the most happening section, it leads you in to the good part, and that's what makes the good part good, you know. So editing's not something to be taken lightly. You know, seriously consider it, because you can bury yourself, you know.
So it's it's a pure excuse of making a record if you're not.
No, I mean, people. You know, I think it's, you know, people listen to a record and they're like, oh, I'd love to make a loop or an edit of that, and off they go and do it. But they're not necessarily considering the people that are going to have to listen to the thing. You know, it's like people take a loop and it's like, okay, let's make it 10 minutes long. You know, that's really boring.
But some people made some kind of nice careers out of that.
Oh yeah, I mean there are some really good ones, but there's some really bad ones as well. You know, so. And I don't have a problem with the technology. I think it makes things easier, but it doesn't help. You know, if it's not in there, it's not going to be picked up by the technology.
But you aren't using this technology yourself these days.
Well, yeah, these days totally. Well, I don't. I get someone else to do it. I like loop that. You know, because I don't really, you know, I'm not up on the modern technology particularly. If I'm in the studio, I'll have a young engineer who understands the technology, and I'll be, you know,
just guiding.
Yeah, you know, I'll be like, okay, I take all these parts, stretch them to 110 BPM. I'll be back after lunch. And then I come in, I program a beat, okay, put that to the beat, then I'll arrange, you know, and stuff like that, rather than actually sitting staring at the screen going insane, you know.
But you have actually got a project going on right now called Map of Africa.
Yeah,
which is some sort of band,
it's basically
right?
a band, a group. And it consists of the studio outfit is me and Tom Bullock of ARE Weapons fame, and he was a DJ member of the Wicked crew of San Francisco, and he's now on half of Rub and Tug, who are doing really well with their, you know, with remixes and tours of the world. And our band project together is basically to write and produce and perform some songs of our own, and that's what we've been working on it almost for like 2 years now.
And what kind of music is this?
It's basically two kinds of music. There's songs that are written to be performed as a band unit, which tend to be pretty stompy, rocky, you know, I don't know, like a bit like ZZ Top or something like that, I think. And then there's the other half, which is more sort of cosmic, dancey, Balearic, mellow, and that's designed to be like played in clubs, remixed by other DJs, hopefully, and you know, just so we've got a wide range of crossover of sound.
So you've got the new record with you, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to play it?
You want to hear me doing karaoke? All right, so here's a new single, folks, that you can't buy anywhere.
It's actually really hard to get, right?
Yeah, it's impossible. But that's okay. Records are luxury items these days, so it's more of like a promo. I think it was released, but it's there's only 1,000 of them anyway, so it's for collectors and DJs and journalists.
And what about the name Map of Africa?
Map of Africa, okay. A map of Africa is a sex stain that's left on the bed. When, I don't know if any of you guys have ever encountered one of those. But no, it's out of Black Cock Records. No, it's actually on Whatever We Want Records.
Which is a label out of New York, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see how this sounds. Thank you.
This is some pretty shocking disco rock music, right?
Yeah, that's actually a cover version of an Eddie Grant record called Black Skin, Blue Eyed Boy, which was actually one of the first disco records out in 1969. And it was a favorite of people like Nicky Ciano and Francis Grasso.
Who were DJs in New York?
Who were New York DJs at the time, yeah.
And whose marvelous voice was this on this record?
Oh, that's me. That's me on the karaoke. That's funny.
Yeah, could you please explain a little bit more about your project? What you're trying to do with it?
We're just trying to have a real good time. You know? It's like I'm halfway through my midlife crisis, so I thought I'd start a rock and roll band. Before it's too late. Yeah, it's an opportunity to, you know, really for the first time to fully, although that one is a cover version, there's actually 16 original pieces on the album. And yeah, to really get into, you know, writing and performing our own songs, you know, songs with verses and choruses and middle eights and the stuff. I think really just, you know, because for so long I've been associated with dance music, which can be very tracky in a lot of ways, and it can be very simplistic lyrically. So to be able to express myself through real, you know, I'm not saying that dance music isn't real songs, but through a more sort of song-based medium is what it's all about.
So, Four to the Floor bores you these days?
Not at all. Not at all. I love Four to the Floor. There's, you know, you search for something to take the place of Four to the Floor, but only Four to the Floor can do what Four to the Floor does. Do you know what I'm saying? It's, you know, there's lots of alternatives, but there is no alternative. So, and it's down to just good and bad, really. I don't mind whether it's 5 on the floor. You know, does it work as a nice record? Am I popping this mic? Yeah. Yeah, it's just down to whether it's a good record and whether, you know, the sort of the 4 down thing. It's whether it's a good one or a bad one, really.
So you don't care about genres anymore, or never did?
No, I never really did. I mean, I suppose people ask me what I'd play, and I suppose it's grown-up dance music or adult dance music. That's my main kind of thing, and that covers everything. You know, you can pretty much shake it to whatever. If it's a good party, the people are down there. You know.
So what constitutes a good party, in your opinion?
I don't know, just the majority of people having a nice time, you know? That's a good party. There's so many ways that can be achieved, whether it's indoors, outdoors, you know, small crowd, big crowd. Just that most people are enjoying themselves. That's as simple as that.
And you're trying to do a good party in Hawaii right now?
Yeah, getting onto the Hawaii thing. I'm partners in a space out there called 39 Hotel, and it's in 39 Hotel Street, Chinatown, Honolulu. And basically, it's a multimedia space, and we have, you know, art shows, jazz nights, you know, all kinds of different parties and events and things going on. But Saturday nights is the dance party night, and we have predominantly, you know, dance DJs and various people coming and going.
And you're taking care of the sound system in there, right?
Yeah, we've only been open a year, and up until now we've just had a very simple, small JBL sound system. But as we speak, I'm looking into buying something pretty fancy with a bunch of vintage 70s components. And I want to build a world-class sound system.
So maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that. What is a good sound system to you?
A good sound system is something has a high fidelity, so you can basically hear what's on the record. A little weight or power, so you can feel the record. And that's pretty much it. The key really is to have a clean signal path, or a simple signal path. I mean, it all starts with the stylus. If your stylus is no good, your system's going to amplify something that's no good. All the preamps and amps and everything, they just, they amplify the sound from the needle. So you start with a good needle, which is a reissue Shure V15 2. They're about $350 a pop. They're a hi-fi stylus, but they're robust enough to withstand back cueing. Probably then run through a Bozak. We have a custom Bozak in the club, which a Bozak, basically a Uri mixer is a copy of a Bozak. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Uri. A Bozak came out quite a few years before, and has very fine components, which gives a pretty smooth, clean sound. It's a softer sound than a Uri.
So maybe you could explain a Bozak. What is actually a Bozak
A
mixer?
Bozak is a rotary controlled preamplifier for turntables and whatever else you might have. It also has phono ins and line ins. And it's the first commercially available DJ mixer, and still the best. Uris are good. Uris have a little tighter sound, but a Bozak, it's like sprinkling icing sugar on the cake, you know. From the Bozak, I suppose, try to run through as little processing as possible. Gates and compression and stuff like that. It protects the system, but it doesn't help the sound. And I'll have what I call an idiot-proof button. So when I'm not there and there's people who don't know what they're doing, I'll hit the little button that just holds everything in place. But if there's anyone who actually knows what they're doing, they will have full headroom with no compression on the system. So yeah, a simple signal path through, probably, from the Bozak through a simple EQ, and then I'll split a 5-way system. I have a Richard Long 3-way crossover, where the middle section is a full range, the tops and the bass. It's not like the modern, the kind of general 3-ways, which tend to be a mid, high, and bass. This is a full range, which is everything, and then with support at 10K and at 80 for the bass. So I'll run a 3-way system through the full range, and then have sub-bass support and a bullet tweeter array for the highs. And I'm looking into, basically, I've been chatting with Nicky Ciano about some prototype Klipsch cabinets and stuff, but I'm not sure if I'll go for those.
Klipsch are pretty legendary.
Yeah, David Mancuso runs a Klipsch horn system with Levinson amps and stuff, and it's a very clean, very, very lovely system, but can be a little bit frustrating for some people, because it doesn't have the weight, the power, the punch that I'm looking for from my system. David's system is very soft, very easygoing, but probably a little too easygoing for my likings. Although, you stand in there and you can listen to that system for 12 hours and have no ear fatigue,
So you have ever been to the loft, David Mancuso's?
Yeah, I went.
Legendary part.
I've been to it at a couple of different locations. There was one somewhere in Alphabet City years ago. I went in the early 90s. And then more recently, he plays at the Ukrainian sort of centre somewhere in Manhattan, and he brings his system, and it's a great party.
And he's also the master of not mixing records, but having a great party, right?
Yeah, exactly. He leaves gaps between the records, gives people an opportunity to applaud or enjoy the track, or chat about it for 5 minutes before the next record comes on. But I think it's good. He has a very different pace to the whole night. Nothing's forced. The records speak for themselves. It's a good way to play. It takes a little bit of getting used to if you haven't experienced that style before. But once you get the idea and you go, watch what everyone's doing, go with the flow, and it's a great party.
And why Hawaii? Is it the up-and-coming dance music center of the world?
No, I don't think Hawaii will ever be a dance music center of the world. Really, there's too much to do during the day. You can go to the beach and go surfing. There's not really much reason to lock yourself in a dark room with loud music. I mean, it's a very musical place and a very cultural place. So people do enjoy music and enjoy the arts. But as far as a destination for European hordes to go out there and sort of claim Hawaii as the next whatever Ayia Napa or something, but I don't think that will happen. But I mean, it's a long way from Europe, so it costs a lot of money to get out there. It's expensive to stay there. Everything's an import, so it's an expensive place. But we've had some wonderful parties in the last year, and we're going to carry on.
Hawaiian won't become a genre like Balearic?
It may well do if I can sort of hold down the little identity of the movement. I had an idea of like doing a little flyer or whatever that says loft, house, garage, hotel, and I've got hotel. So just another one of those kind of. You can be like, oh no, I'm into hotel music.
But be honest, you just picked the place because you're a surfer yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's Hawaii was somewhere that was a very exotic destination for me, beyond my sort of wildest dreams as a kid. Anyway, I've always been a skateboarder, and in recent years got into surfing. So it's a natural. I mean, I moved to California. One of the reasons was to get to be able to enjoy surfing, and Hawaii was just the next step. And having DJ'd there and got on really well with the locals, and they enjoyed what I was doing, and just become established there. It's great.
So you don't miss London at all?
Not at all, no. I miss a few friends over there, but I enjoy being by the beach, and I enjoy the sunny days and stuff like that. And London, I think, is a tough place to live, especially at the moment. Things are very expensive, and times can be hard to get on in London. But that's also usually when times are hard, people get creative. That's one thing about London. It's you don't go there for the weather or the food. You go there because there's great fashion and arts and music and stuff, because people get their heads down, because there's you can't go and jump in the River Thames, your skin would fall off, you know what I mean? So you might as well go lock yourself in a room and pour it out through the computer,
And maybe you could play us another one of your Black Cock things in there.
Okay, let's see what we can find.
And why Black Cock?
Why Black Cock? I thought, what's the most potently sexual thing in the world? It's got to be a black cock, I mean, and what's everyone remembers that. When you hear that name, you're like, ooh, ah, It's like, it hurts to think about that kind of thing.
What do you think about the whole buzz around Black Cock being so expensive on the internet, and you don't take that too serious, do you?
I don't take it too seriously. I think it's for me it's great. It keeps the hype going, and I'm happy that people are interested. For the people that buy the records, it's great because they have a great rare disco record to play and show to their friends and make them jealous. Yeah, I think it's all good. If people are really into it, that's the best I could hope for, really.
You wouldn't spend that much money on a record yourself, right?
I would if I had that much money to spend on a record. I tend to take. This is a good tip, guys. If it sells a $20 bill, go down to Amoeba and buy $21 records, and you'll get at least 2 or 3 really good ones, and save some money.
Amoeba
That's how I do it.
Amoeba is a store in Los
Oh
Angeles.
yeah. It's I think there's one in Oakland, in San Francisco. In fact, there's one in San Francisco and there's one in Oakland and there's one in Los Angeles, and they're huge second-hand record stores, and they tend to have these great dollar bins full, because the kids that fill the dollar bins, it appears to me, have no idea what they're doing because they fill it up with great records.
So you're only buying out of the dollar bins when you go record shopping?
Not only, but I like to do it like that. You discover stuff, I buy things like that, because it's only $1. You're not really risking that much money, and you can experiment with stuff you just like the look of. Any record made before 1975 is good anyway.
And are there any kind of new records you actually like?
Yeah, loads. But I can't think of any right now.
Sometimes one gets the impression that guys like Lindström and the Itchet Boys, for instance, are just making records for you to play them.
That'd be nice. I mean, I think, well, yeah, Lindström and Itchet Boys, they're a great case in point. They're making great new music, Lindström seems to be very prolific. He's making like 10 mixes a week. In fact, he's doing too much. Lindström, stop it before you rinse yourself out, dude. Yeah.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about the Itchet Boys and that whole London new disco explosion thing during the end of the 90s. You are being held responsible for that.
I know, it's a bit... I have problem with sort of, like, the genre thing or whatever, I think that just helps journalists write about stuff. But I suppose there was a loose group of DJs and musicians that championed the sort of slightly more sophisticated dance music sound towards the end of the 90s, and it's nothing more than that, really. I wouldn't say there was nothing contrived about it or whatever. It just so happened that we were enjoying that kind of music, so we'd make that kind of music. I think they very... actually, I managed to actually sidestep the, British New School. I
think it was being called British New House or something.
Yeah, really sad, right?
It wasn't my invention.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I don't know. You think they come up with something better? I suppose hip-hop's a strange name for some kind of music, isn't it? But, yeah, I don't know. I tried to sort of, although, like, I know all the guys involved in that so-called scene, I tried to sort of distance myself from an actual, some sort of solid style. I wouldn't say I have a particular way. You know what I mean?
And could you tell us a little bit about Japan, because you're some sort of a cult hero over there?
Japan's always a good time. I've been to Japan many times over the years, and the people there really, the kids really know their stuff. They do the research, and they're what do they call it? Mania. They've got the mania, and they do their research and sing along to records. I wonder how they know them. But the Japanese scene is really good. I toured all over and had a really great reception. Wherever I played in Japan, and it's just a great place to hang out. The food's amazing. People are really friendly, and they're enthusiastic about, if you're passionate about whatever you do and you give yourself up to the people, they'll give it back. It's nice.
And Japanese train spotters are the craziest?
Pretty much. Yeah, they'll take a photograph of every record I play and then hold their phone up to the speaker to record it, so they have a photo of the record and an audio recording as well.
And then you can go to a record store in Japan and...
Oh yeah, they have... It's crazy. There's some, they have this like, DJ Harvey play, and there's these big lists, like sort of a replica of my record box with all, like that bag. They'll have like a Bathing Ape record bag with all the exact same records I've got in there. Like DJ Harvey's set. It's just crazy. I'm like, what DJ Harvey's going to be playing next week, and I don't even know that. So it's pretty good. You know, it's good fun. So, and I suppose some people it could be a little bit annoying, but I think if people are down for it, and you know, it's cool.
And maybe you guys have any questions?
Yeah. There's a lot of talk, at least some friends told me, that you have something to do with Motown re-edits.
All right. Yeah, I was involved in the sort of the launch of that label. That was kind of the name was sort of my concept, and that's interesting because that relates back to the Japanese thing. Japanese have a strange grasp of English, and when they name things, they quite often use English words. Like, say they were going to like build a CD player, they wouldn't call it Pioneer, they'd call it, say, Oneer. Right? So they just take a few letters off here and there and make a new word that kind of relates a little bit to what they're trying to do, like Ivisu jeans. It's just Levi's with the L taken off. You know, stuff like that. And so I was thinking, using that as a concept, I thought, okay, we'll have Motown, but we'll take the W out and have Moton. You know, so you know, same typeset. So that was basically just the concept behind the actual label imprint. Yeah, and then it's based. I think these days they're pretty much a straight bootleg label. But the first 3 or 4 releases that I was involved in, we were actually remixing and re-editing tracks, and I enjoy doing that side of it. And I'm not too interested in the business side of running a label, so I just let them go with it. You know, Diesel and Jarvis.
Yeah, also, when you were talking about, Gert said new house, something, wasn't that like the thing around Street Corner Symphony in the 90s, was that it?
Yeah, I suppose probably the Street Corner Symphony records were the epitome of...
And wasn't that like open Ministry of Sounds label?
Yeah, it was all linked in around that time.
So you were like running away from your own residency and trying to escape their corporativism?
Yeah, I mean, they sacked me from the Ministry of Sound. And I quote, because I smoked too much weed, sorry, and my music was too good. How could anyone? How could that? I'm sorry, guy. We're sacking you because you're too good. I'm like, that really makes sense, guys. See ya.
Oh, never mind. I think everyone else agrees with why you were sacked.
Yeah, I mean, I think they after. I mean, the Ministry's a whole thing. I think at a certain point it really did become a business rather than a passion. Justin Berkman, who'd originally, it was his vision, the club, he had been bought out by his investors. And then, I mean, those guys kind of run a line of hotels or something, so they just look at figures. They're like, okay, like there was 25 less people here this week, we've got to have Todd Terry again. You know? So, yeah, you know, but it's all right. I think I had a great time there, and lucky I got out when I did. You know?
Did you ever play sample? Oh,
there you are.
Hi. Did you ever play sample clearance on the Black Hawk records?
In a word, no. And the reason being, at the time, I just thought I could get away with it, and I have done. But there's a grey area which is allowed to exist within the sampling world. And they won't come after you for money unless you've got money to give them. So if anyone was to come to me and say, right, I want the profit from Black Hawk, I'll be, look, mate, you owe me $10 for promoting your ass. We didn't make any money, you know. So, and then if by any chance these records were to become very popular and there was money to be made, few artists turn that down. You know, a few artists were like, oh no, I don't want to make any money, I don't want to relaunch my career. You know, they're like, okay, let's make this thing happen. So, you know, there's especially within something like hip hop, you know, like people's tracks are sampled all the time, and quite often licensing isn't paid until the album or whatever is released.
So you'd be willing to give money back, basically?
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, I mean there isn't any money anyway. But I mean if we'd made some money and it was possible, if someone came to me and said like we want a percentage of the profit, then great, no worries anymore. Just. I can probably hear you better if you just speak straight, because I'm getting a kind of slap back thing, and with your accent,
but
it's just crazy, dude.
It isn't. I have to.
Okay, go on.
So there's like a red line running to your career, actually a sort of black cock that has something to do with edits and bootlegs, and now you have a band with only 1,000 copies. You're asking for it, man. What are you going to do? Are you going to bootleg your own records or something?
What will happen is in this day and age, money is made in music by people downloading MP3s for $1 a go and buying CDs. Nobody buys records anymore.
Except for these guys.
Except for these guys, like. But and it's good. It's that record is for you people, and if I'm sure with a little effort, there's still some copies out there somewhere to be found. But in general, they're really just promotional luxury items for DJs, journalists, and collectors. This particular record, actually, the paper part costs more than the vinyl part, because we really wanted to have a nice print and particular kind of paper or whatever.
So it's like new artist, Blue Monday, 12-inch. You're losing money with every.
Yeah, it is like that. I think we are actually losing money on those. But I think when it comes to it, there will be everyone will be able to get their hands on the music one way or another. I think I'll do a limited vinyl, like a gatefold album of the album. Then there'll be the CD, and then there'll be the downloadable MP3s and stuff like that. And I'm sure people will just, whatever that is, like Kazaa or something, LimeWire, and just get it for free or whatever, I mean, for me, really, it's I pay my rent by being a professional DJ. So if it's the making of the music that's the important thing to me. I enjoy the process of actually realizing an idea, to say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have an Arab dude and thing on the cover and blah blah blah, and then for it actually to happen, that's it. I'm happy. I'm done. Great. So I don't really care if anyone buys the record or not.
And what would be your reaction? You were just saying that nobody buys records anymore, but the impression I get, I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm here with all these guys, but it might be that it's selling less for some reason, but it's being a format that has grown to be grown to be more loved day by day. The cherish for it has become almost mystical.
Right.
And how would you feel if, for some reason, someone released a white cock
Right.
of Map of Africa re-edited? What would be your reaction to that?
I suppose initially I'd take it as a compliment. I mean, it really does depend. If I was starving and couldn't pay my rent, and someone else was doing rather well selling my work, then maybe I would, if I knew about it, I would contact them and ask for a licensing fee. But apart from that, it probably wouldn't bother me.
One thing I want to ask you also. You're easily traceable to Black Hawk Records. So if for some reason, was it the Pointer Sisters, the C is for cookie.
Oh right, yeah. If it's
Whatever.
like, if the Cookie Monster comes
The Cookie
knocking on my
Monster,
door,
yeah.
where's my money?
If the Cookie Monster wants his money back, he knows who to call.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean that's
So everyone knows it's you. But how come you've dodged that and you haven't really been?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What I just said before is there's a grey area that is allowed to exist, where people are allowed to sample, and as long as no money is being made, then people don't mind. You know, there was any money that was made from the Black Cocks went back into the initial ones. In fact, for this particular record, I didn't even collect the money from the distributors. I let them keep it because I couldn't be bothered to go and chase a few bucks. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, so like with the, so are you saying like as far as like being money, like obviously if the album was to go like sell like I guess like 500,000 copies, you obviously got enough to pay them for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what.
that's because, I mean, if someone was to come to me now, I wouldn't. You know, there's like I said, there was no money made from the record in the first place for me to pay them. So just the very fact of taking the whole thing going through court will cost everybody money. Is a pain in the ass.
But you're aware, of course, that by now, if for some reason you are indeed starving, you could print 10,000 of the Black Cocks and they would all sell out for a reasonable price.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could do that. I mean,
it's went to such a status that, I was just talking to Jason over there last night. I mean, to a big extent, it's overreacting. I like music as much as anyone else here, but sometimes this is just a bit nerdy, you know, to go after this as if it were some sort of religious object or something. But anyway, if it's gotten to this status where you could actually take the time to print some more, and as long as you have a good publisher or something and arrange it with the original artist, I'm sure it would.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we had thought of maybe doing like a box set.
Yeah.
You know, and then I mean, in this day and age, I'd probably, you know, I would, if that being the case, you know, it would be probably a lot more official. I mean, Black Cock's so wrong, if you like. I mean, we used Foghorn Leghorn, who's a Warner Brothers thing. You know, it's completely. I mean, I know I made him black in this thing, but I suppose. I mean, it'll never happen, man. They're gone. They're done and gone, and that's it. And the people that own them can enjoy them, and that's it. You know?
And they also have been bootlegged.
Have they?
Yeah, they have.
Oh, who's done? You know who's done it?
No.
No, I mean, I'd be interested to get a copy. They're for sale?
On eBay, yeah.
Oh wow! Well, there we go.
Also, you can also get T-shirts there.
Oh really? Oh well.
A lot of Black Cock merchandising going on.
Wow. Well, there you go. Someone's doing very well. But I think I know who's doing T-shirts. I don't know who's bootlegged the records. I mean, that's interesting. I'll have to just check it out. Whatever.
And
I heard someone say actually that they were considering bootlegging. There's only a few people that would do it, and there's only a few pressing plants. I just send out some beams, and I'll get it's one of 5 people.
And speaking about being a professional DJ, you've been DJing for how long now? 20 plus years?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that there will come a point where you will have enough of all of this?
Not really. I still enjoy playing records. It would be nice, I suppose, just to sort of end up in in a little bar in Samoa or something, and have my little vintage sound system and just play records for my customers. But I don't see myself growing bored of DJing really. As long as people are prepared to sort of accept me, then yeah.
And maybe if there aren't any other questions, we could end this session with...
Yes, just one question. Is this yours? Did you take part in this? The Stars with Sylvester?
What about it?
I just bought it this morning.
You bought it? It's not... What, has it got my name on it?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Maybe someone stole it off me. Let's have a look. Oh, that Harvey. No, that's not me. No. This is a wonderful record, though.
Yeah, let's hear the other Harvey.
Let's hear what the other Harvey can do. Let's see what we'll have. An instrumental of... yeah, there's an instrumental of this somewhere. Okay. Okay, is this my outro? This would be a good outro for me.